Have you ever wondered how you can unlock new opportunities and knowledge that can truly change your journey as an African immigrant? Then, you're in the right place. Welcome to the AIM Expert series, where we bring you insightful sessions, packed with practical strategies from top experts on topics that matter most to you. So, if you're looking to grow your career or understand the US system, then grab a chair and don't go anywhere. Now, let's get started on today's session.
So, making money, yes, from Janet. Yeah, so making money is great, right? And wanting to make money, that's actually nothing to be embarrassed about, because profitability is the backbone of any sustainable business. Without revenue, even the most passionate entrepreneur will struggle. But you have to understand that if money is your only motivation for starting a business, you risk burnout. And this is because money doesn't really create fulfillment. Money only enhances what is already there. So again, money is important, but on its own, it's not enough to keep you going when the times get tough. Then, of course, there is the freedom factor. There's another motivation, the freedom factor, right? And this is one of the biggest reasons why people become entrepreneurs. They become entrepreneurs because they want freedom. They want that freedom to control their schedule. They want to choose their own projects. They want to design a life that aligns with their values. But again, here is another harsh reality. When you first start, freedom is not instant, right? When you first start, you might find yourself working longer hours than a 9 to 5. You find yourself working during weekends. And even during holidays, you'll find yourself working. And this is me speaking from experience, right? And then on the topic of freedom, you also have to think, what kind of freedom are you after? Are you after financial freedom? Is it because you want to live life on your terms? Or are you after creative freedom? You want to do work that excites you? Or are you after time freedom? You want to spend more time with family? Or is it all of the above? Because knowing what kind of freedom you're also chasing will help you make decisions that align with your ultimate goal. Then, of course, there is also the passion factor, which is also another motivation. Because passion is also a major driver, right? Because most entrepreneurs, most people actually start entrepreneurship because they love what they do. But again, you have to think passion alone is not enough. Because when you have passion and there's no strategy, it's just a hobby. So you need to pair passion with business acumen, and that way you're able to create a sustainable business. So one way you can figure this out, one thing that you can ask yourself is, am I passionate enough about this business to stay committed even when I'm not making money in the beginning? Am I passionate enough that even when there's nothing in my account and I'm broke, I'm still doing this business? Are you willing to learn the business side of things also, right? Because that's also another thing with starting a business. When you start a business and you're passionate, yes, you're passionate about, let's say, you're drawing, but you also have to think that when you start a business, then that's not the only thing you'll be doing. You'll be wearing all the hats. You won't be working on just what you're passionate about, right? Even if you're a designer and you're passionate about design, you also have to get customers for your design. So you have to go do the sales part. You also have to do the admin task when you start. So that's also something that you have to think about and you have to consider. Now, if your passion is strong, of course, it will help you actually push through the tough times. But you also must be willing to be practical, and you have to also be willing to be adaptable. And you have to be willing to learn to also work on the other aspects of your business that you also might not be passionate about. Now, let's go into the business versus side hustle, right? So now, after asking yourself your motivation for starting a business, you need to figure out if your idea is something that actually works as a business or if it's better as a side hustle, right? Because a business is structured, the business is scalable, and a business has a long-term commitment. and there's a clear growth plan. But with a side hustle is smaller. It's, it's just something you're doing here and there. There's a flexible income stream. You may or may not grow it into a full business. So some of the factors that you have to consider when you're thinking about this is the scalability, right? You have to think, can this idea grow beyond the one person operation? And then you have to also think about market demand. This is actually very, very important, right? You have to think if there is a real need for this, or if this is just something that you just enjoy. Then you have to think about the time commitment. Are you able and willing to dedicate full-time hours, or is this just something you just want to do? It's just something I do on the side. It's not that serious, right? And then you also have to think about, the financial viability. This is kind of tied into the market demand. If this is an idea that would generate sustainable income, because not every passion should be a full-time business. Some ideas, they just work better as, a profitable side hustle. Now, we'll talk about the full-time commitments and, if you're ready for the downside. But before I go over the slide, I would like you guys to please type in the chat, what is your biggest fear about starting a business? What is your biggest fear? Failing. That's a good one. Okay. Chika also said failing. Wow. Not finding customers. Yeah. I do feel that. I do feel that. Oh yeah, Leticia said being stretched too thin. I feel that, and I totally agree. These fears they're very, very valid, because entrepreneurship, it's not a walk in the park, right? But again, the key is knowing what you're signing up for before you commit fully. Because something that we see nowadays is entrepreneurship it gets glamorized so much, right? You say you're an entrepreneur, everyone thinks, oh my God, you're grossing $1 million a year. And then you go on social media, we see people claiming that their business started making $20,000 a month in the first 3 months. Now, it doesn't mean that this is never possible, of course, right? But these are more of outliers. They are not the average. So you have to understand that being an entrepreneur comes with sacrifices. There's a financial instability, there's long hours, there's rejection, there's stress, and people kind of just see the freedom and the wealth and the success, but they overlook the struggles, right? So as I mentioned before, when you're an entrepreneur, at least the very first beginning parts, you'll face financial instability because your income is not stable. And then you also face rejections, right? Because clients can reject you, investors can reject you. And then you also be burdened by long hours, because as an entrepreneur, you're the CEO, you're the CMO, you're the COO, you're the CFO, you're the CTO, you're everything in the C-suite. And also you're probably also your own customer service and your own admin too, right? So you're basically doing everything. And also another thing is that business, there's no passing grade in business, right? So think about school. In school, you get an A and that's excellent. You get a C, that's average, right? You don't really see that in business. There is no, oh, I have to take this exam and get an A, and then that means my business is wonderful, right? So in entrepreneurship, you're going to be betting on yourself that you're doing the right thing. Actually, a couple of days ago, I think probably maybe a week-ish, I met a 7-figure business owner, a founder who sold her business, right? And what she told me is that she was making revenue. She was a 7-figure business owner, so she was making revenue, but she had no profits. She actually had no profit. She wasn't making anything from her business. Her business was making the revenue, but there was no profit for the business, right? I mean, of course, later on she figured out a way to cut costs and be more profitable. But from the outside, one would look and say, oh my God, she's making, she's a seven-figure business owner. And one would be like, oh yeah, this is perfect. This is excellent, without knowing everything that is going on in her business. So that's an example of what, how entrepreneurship can be. So also here is a funny meme about entrepreneurs doing everything themselves. Hopefully that lightens your mood. Um, and now I will go over to the next slide of, the factors that you have to consider in entrepreneurship, right? So there are certain things that are important to consider when you're diving in. And the first is the preparation for the uncertainty. You have to prepare, right? And financial preparation, this is literally, for me, this is the most important. You have to make sure that your debt is cleared. Please don't jump into a business and you're owing loans, or you have credit cards that you have 22, 28% on, and you're owing all of these debts. It's very important because as an entrepreneur, your income is not stable, right? When you're starting off, your income is not stable. So you have to make sure that the expenses are low. You have to clear all your debts before you transition. And you have to save a lot. Before you dive in, save as much as you can. And if it's also possible, have, maybe an alternate income stream. This is very important for the first few years. And then the second thing is the mental preparation. I feel like we kind of overlook these a lot, right? But you also have to be mentally prepared. You have to expect a lot of ups and downs, right? Even big brands that we hear about right now, they struggled in the beginning of their business. You also have to develop a long-term mindset. You have to understand that this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I know it's tough because a marathon is longer, right? Yeah, and sometimes it's like there's no end in sight. But one thing that can help you to navigate this is having a why. Actually, I spoke about this in the women conference. So we had a women conference a week ago, and I spoke about having a why in entrepreneurship because I think it is very, very important, right? Because your why is going to keep you on track. Because whenever things get tough, you can always go back to the drawing board and you can remember why you started. This is so you can write this down. This is a practical tip that you can practice after this session, right? After this session, you can write down 3 potential worst case scenarios in your business, and how you can handle them. Now, another factor is also that you have to have emotional resilience. Now, resilience, that's the ability you have to keep going, keep moving when things get wrong. Right? So if you're easily discouraged by failure, you might struggle with entrepreneurship. Or if you need constant validation and constant push to keep going, if you need someone to always, push you to keep going, you might also struggle. Or if you avoid discomfort or uncertainty, because entrepreneurship is there's a lot of discomfort in it, right? So you might also struggle if you're someone that avoids discomfort or uncertainty. But you can also build your resilience by, learning from your failures. Don't take it personally. Take it, did someone say something? Oh, okay. Um, Another thing you can also do is, of course, take care of your mental and physical health. And then you also have to stay connected to your why, because I so strongly believe that having a strong why is going to really help you to navigate it, right? Whenever things get tough, when those rejections come in, I mean, of course you cry, but then you come back to your why and you think, this is why I started this. Actually, there was a lady I was talking to, and she was telling me that her why is so that she can retire her parents and fly them all over the world. And she said that on her wall, she has a picture of her mom and dad, and then she has an airplane on it. So that's one of the ways that you can, that can help you, you can build your resilience, because you can come back and you're like, okay, this is why I started this. So another factor that you also have to consider in entrepreneurship is the importance of support systems, right? It's very important to have mentors, have people that have been where you are before, and people that can guide you. And also, of course, mentors, coaches, and also have a good network, right? Surround yourself with other entrepreneurs for motivation, because the thing about entrepreneurship is it is actually a very lonely journey. A lot of times people don't know, they don't know what you're going through, right? Um, so you have to surround yourself with people that are in the same space, you know. You have to network, attend networking meetings, whether it's in person, whether it's online. And then, of course, your family and friends. They might not really understand your journey, but their encouragement is invaluable. Then also join, communities, join groups, join business masterminds, join accountability groups, join entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial circles. So if you don't have a support system right now, just find one before you take the leap. It is very important. Um, So now the next thing I'm going to talk about is passion versus practicality. So now you say, I have the passion to start something. I want to start this. And that is great. But also, you have to remember that there are bills to be paid. So passion is a very powerful driver in business, right? Passion is actually very great because it keeps you motivated. It fuels your creativity. It gives meaning to your work. But you also have to remember that passion alone does not pay the bills. Many people start businesses based solely on passion or on what they love, and then they realize that what they love doesn't really translate into income. So you must acknowledge that your business needs to generate revenue to be sustainable. One thing you can ask yourself is, does my passion solve a real problem that people are willing to pay for? And if you think it doesn't, now, is there a way to align that passion with a market need? Because passion, yes, it is essential, but financial stability, it's a non-negotiable. The other thing you also have to think is, just because you love it, it doesn't mean that it sells, right? Businesses exist to serve a need. It's not to satisfy personal interests. So market research matters. I did mention this before. Before diving into your business, study if there is an actual market for your passion. Test if your idea is viable. Also test the demand, right? You can create an MVP. An MVP is a minimum viable product, right? And you can create an MVP and see if people are willing to pay for it. And also you have to also be willing to adapt, because now sometimes it's not that what we love, it doesn't really work, but it's just that maybe it needs to be tweaked or it needs to be packaged differently for it to become a viable business. I actually met with the CEO of Publicere, right? To interview him for Tribes and Histories features. So Publicere is a platform that helps African creative focus on what they do, right? And in the interview, one thing that he mentioned that really stood out to me, he said that Publicere wasn't doing good for a while. He said he and his co-founder, they wanted to shut it down. But then that before they wanted to shut it down, they then started thinking, why isn't this working? There has to be some way it can work. And then they tweaked it a little. And now, as I'm speaking to you right now, Publicia is actually one of their most successful businesses so far. And this person I'm talking about is someone, he's actually been very successful. He's sold, I think, one or two businesses, right? So it might not be that your passion might not work, but it's just that maybe needs to be tweaked, like I said, or maybe packaged differently. Another example is maybe a talented painter. He might struggle with selling original paintings, but they might succeed in maybe teaching art classes, right? So you can balance passion with real problems and, find the intersection of your passion and practicality, right? Because the passion is going to drive the quality and the innovation. If you have a passion for something, you can probably even spend up to 20 hours a day working on that thing. But also the practicality aspect, it ensures financial sustainability. And there are steps that you can follow to balance your passion and your profitability, right? So you can list your passions, you can think of what are the things you're naturally good at, the things you enjoy doing. Then you can identify the problems you can solve, right? And then research who is paying for these solutions. And then you find an overlap between all of them, right? Kind of like a Venn diagram. So, for instance, if you love fitness, but you struggle to get clients for in-person training, you might see that online coaching might work better for you, right? So that way you just find an intersectionality that works. Then, still on the topic of passion versus practicality, you have to identify your financial minimum, right? So before pursuing your business full time, you have to know how much money you need to survive. So this involves you have to calculate your essential expenses. That's your rent, your food, your bills, your savings, all of those things, right? And you also have to have a financial buffer, right? While your passion-based business gains traction. And this financial clarity, what it does is it helps you make better decisions, right? At this point, you make decisions not from a place of desperation, but more from a place of logic and research. So again, remember, yes, passion is valuable, but it has to be paired. You have to pair it with a strategic approach. Balance that thing you love, right? Balance your craft with an understanding of what sells, and then you can be able to create a business that you love. Now let's talk about the financial planning and the transitioning part. So before I go forward, I'm just going to pause and ask how many people are looking to transition to entrepreneurship at some point? Maybe not right now, but it's something you have thought about. How many people? Okay, wanna say me? Okay, Belinda. All right, Jeanette, Chi. Okay, so that's quite a good, a solid amount of people. Yes. Um, So this is the financial reality of living a stable paycheck. Living a steady paycheck, it's a major decision that requires both emotional readiness and financial preparation, right? Many people dream of working for themselves, doing what they want, but as I've been saying this past, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes, business ownership comes with uncertainty. So unlike a paycheck that arrives, every 2 weeks your paycheck arrives, or every month, or every 1 week, I'm not sure, depending, um, you get your paycheck. That's not the same with entrepreneurship. You can go weeks without a paycheck, and the key to a smooth transition is to approach it strategically, right? You have to ask yourself, am I financially prepared for an unpredictable income? Do I have a backup plan if things don't go as expected? So your answer to this question is going to determine how smoothly your transitions go. Now, before we move forward, the other thing I want to ask is, drop in the chat, how many months of paycheck do you think one should have before they quit? How many months of paycheck? Okay, Ngozi said 6 months, Janet said 6 months, Belinda said 6 months, a year. Okay. Okay, good answers. At least no one is saying 1 month. No one is saying 1 month. That's good. Okay. Okay. And so now, as we all said, right, before you leave your job, you have to have your savings, right? You have to build a strong financial cushion. Experts recommend having at least 6 months to 12 months of living expenses. Me personally, I recommend more. If you can save more and have more, have it. And why, you might ask? Because your business is going to take time to generate consistent income, and also unexpected expenses can arise. And those unexpected expenses can be think of if you're in the US. I think most of us, if not all of us, are in the US. Think about things like insurance. Now, if you're above 26 and you're unmarried, you probably might not have, insurance, because if you're below 26, you're under your parents' insurance, and, if you're above 26, maybe you're married and you can have your spouse insurance. So think of things like medical expenses, right? Those things can arise. So before quitting, you can take some steps to build your savings. You can track your expenses, and this will help you know how much you need to survive each month. You can cut unnecessary spending, reduce expenses now so that you can save faster. You can increase your income, and you can do this by, getting side gigs, you can freelance, and automate your savings, please. Set up automatic transfers to a separate account so that you can build your savings. And this, this helps, it helps to reduce stress, because if there's no money, it can be very stressful. Now, also another thing you can do is you can test your business while you're still employed, right? And this actually helps you to validate whether your business can generate income before you take the leap. And one of some ways you can do this, you can start small. You can take on clients here and there. You can sell products in your spare time, and then you track your earnings from it. As you're tracking, you see, okay, is your business making enough money, to cover your basic expenses, right? And then you also use this time to refine your offer, to understand what your customers want, and adjust accordingly. If you can get your business to a point where it's covering at least 50 to 75% of your monthly income, then you're in a much safer position, to quit. Then, of course, you also have to budget for your transition, right? Like I said, you have to list your essential expenses, your rent, your utilities, your groceries, your insurance. Then you cut out all those non-essential costs, right? Those luxury luxurious spending, entertainment. I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy life, but enjoy life small, small, right? And then also estimate your business expenses, right? Because your business will also have expenses. Your business, you might need to build a website. You might need to do marketing, right? You might need to buy products or equipment for your business. Then also plan for your low income months because there will be months in your income in your business that will be very slow, right? So your goal is to make your money, your savings last as long as possible for you while your business stabilizes. Now, there are a couple of funding options. If you don't have, if you're still growing your business. One is investors, and that's if you have a scalable business, you can seek investors or you can seek venture capitalists. Another one is business loans. Personally, I would not recommend this. This is just me personally. I would not recommend this. But again, everyone's business is different. Another one is grants. This is what I would recommend because grants are free money. Think of grants as scholarships for businesses, right? And then, of course, there's also, you can maybe have a side income where you're being a freelancer or something, right? So you have to understand that living a stable paycheck, it's exciting, but it requires careful planning. So by saving enough money and, also budgeting, you can be able to set yourself up for success. So we have 5 minutes. Okay, that's good. I'm going to start wrapping up. And as we wrap up today on, the full commitment that is required for entrepreneurship, I want us to take a moment to kind of reflect on the key takeaways, right? The first thing that we've talked about is knowing your why. Your why is the driving force behind everything that you do. Like I said, you have to have a strong why because your why, it's what keeps you going when things get tough. You have to have a clear understanding. It has to be crystal clear why you're starting this business because it's going to help you stay focused. It's going to help you remain committed even in difficult times, right? So your why, it could be something like your financial freedom, right? You could want to make, money. It could be whatever it is. The point is that you have to ensure that it's meaningful enough to feel that determination to make you resilient. The other thing is also remember that not every idea is going to be a full-time business, right? Some people jump into entrepreneurship because they think that every idea must be a full-time business, but that's not the case. Some ventures can just be a passion project. It can just be a side hustle, right? You have to be mindful of the scalability of your idea. Not every idea is ready for full-time commitment right away, right? So you can start small, you can test the waters, and then you gradually transition full-time when the resources are right. The other thing also is you have to be honest about the risk because it is risky, right? You have to be honest with yourself about them. You have to ask yourself if you're going to be able to survive without consistent income for a while. How will you manage it, right? You have to think of the emotional risk. Are you mentally stable enough, to be able to deal with inevitable setbacks and rejections that can come your way? You also have to think of market risk. Are you prepared for uncertainty in the market, right? So you have to take time and assess the real risk involved with your business, and then you have to decide if you're prepared to handle them. Then, of course, there's the passion versus the profitability, right? Which, as I mentioned, passion is great, but passion alone doesn't pay the bills. So you also have to align your passion with the market needs. You can tweak your business a little somehow. I don't know how, but you can tweak your business and now it can be profitable, right? So also we also have to remember about the financial planning because that's one of the most important aspects of entrepreneurship. Because without a solid financial plan, the road to success it can be very bumpy. So you have to have a clear understanding of your projected income, your startup costs, and also your personal expenses, and also have an emergency fund, right? So now, before I end this, I'm going to ask, how do you feel? Be honest. Have I made you think twice about becoming a business owner? Okay, okay, that's good. Okay, Gigi said no, Mona said no. Okay, very straightforward, clear, more prepared. Okay, that's good. Okay, because I was like, okay, I hope this doesn't scare people. Okay, Ngozi said this would help me with preparation. Okay, that's good. So, well, first of all, it is good that you're not scared. That's very good. But also, as I mentioned in the beginning, this is a series, so please come for the next one because we'll also cover other parts of entrepreneurship, right? And I do have some resources also that I put together. So grants databases, networking groups, accelerator programs. So these are some of the resources that can help you in your business. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to let the lovely Ngozi take over.
All right, please give Masi a virtual hand clap. That was really good, really good. And definitely a different take on learning about business. I think, well, I don't want to speak for everybody, but for myself, I'm so used to hearing topics about how to start a business or, you know, never from this viewpoint. So this was really refreshing. So thank you, my sister. We're going to open the floor for questions. If you have any, you can drop them in the chat, raise your hand. We can let you come off mute and ask away. Don't be shy. All right, let's see. I feel like someone had a question earlier. Do you have sites? This is from Janet. Do you have sites that you would recommend for conducting market research?
Thank you for that question, Janet. Actually, when I started conducting market research, no, I did not have any sites. I I literally just went on Google and I tailored it towards my business and I was searching everything, right? I was trying to figure out the market size, for comics and animation because my other business, that's what it is related to. Trying to figure out the market size and then yeah, so that was basically what I was doing. So I don't have one central site that I would say I went to. I was just searching everything and then pulling everything together and creating a resource that was just tailored towards my own business. Ngozi, do you want me to go through the questions myself or do you want
Oh,
to?
you're okay. Someone also asked those networking groups you mentioned at the end, how do we access those groups?
Yeah, so how did I start with the networking groups. A lot of it was from Eventbrite, right? So I went to Eventbrite because again, when you're starting a business, there's no blueprint, so you're just figuring out everything yourself. So I was going on Eventbrite and I was seeing a lot. I tried a lot of networking groups. One that I am part of that I really like, and I've also gotten clients from, um, is Entreprenista. However, it is pricey. It's an exclusive group or exclusive community of over 2,000 women, and it is pricey to get in. So I would say start small. Don't, I mean, if you have the money, that's different. But anyway, then the other one that I also joined was there's one here in Atlanta. It's called Promote Your Business. That one is kind of more of service-based business as opposed to maybe product-based or tech-based business, right? Because also something else you have to think and remember is depending on your business. Your business could be service-based. It's a little different. The structure is a little different from if it's a product-based or a tech-based business. Then the other one, there was one I was part of for a short while, CIBN. That one was good, but it was I also got clients from that. It was I think $25 a month, thereabouts. But the promote your business one I talked about is free though, right? Then yeah, so a couple of them have been through a lot of them have been through Eventbrite. And then I network a lot. Oh my God. And when people start seeing you, when you go into that world of entrepreneurship, people will kind of start to notice you and you sort of start seeing the same people. It's kind of like a circle. You sort of start seeing the same people. So you might see one person in promote your business and you see the next person in another business group. And then they kind of get to know you. And then some of them can start recommending networking groups to you. Another one that I join every Wednesday morning is called I think Leading Ladies Can Network. It's also virtual. So yeah, so those are some of the networking groups that I have been part of and still part of.
Okay. Can you guys hear me still?
Yes, we can.
So there was, I think you may have answered the question already, but someone asked, which was Janet, did you end up paying for marketing at some point in time? I think you may have answered that.
Um, if I am being honest, when it comes to my service-based business, Massive Brands, which is it's a web design business, web and design business, right? I haven't actually paid for marketing because the networking that I do, I do the networking, you meet people, you do, you give them your service, and then they refer you, right? For a lot of service-based business, referrals are key, right? So, and yeah, that's basically to say actually for massive brands, I haven't actually spent anything on marketing it.
Hmm, that sounds promising. You haven't? Okay. That's good to know. Did we have any other questions? Any other questions? Let's see. Okay, we're getting a bunch of thank yous. Okay. Well, we have about 3 minutes left. I'm gonna use this time to just thank Masi one more time. This was really extremely informative, to be honest with you. If you are here for the first time and you have a lot of admiration and interest for what Masi is doing, she's doing the expert series right now. If you're interested in becoming one yourself and providing resources to our community as Masi did, please look in the chat box. We have a link where you can fill out an expert application. Once you get plugged in and fill out the application, you would be led to join our orientation, which will teach you about, the things that you can talk about and how to navigate as an expert. And then we can get you signed up to start sharing resources to the community. That should be, and Nnamdi, are you able to put that in the chat or no?
No, let me, do you have Circle up already? Let me get Circle real quick.
Are you guys able to still see the presentation above or no?
No, we don't see it.
Okay, perfect. Hold on. Let me see if I can put the info in now that I stopped sharing. Besides that, while we get that loaded, I have a few announcements. Next week, we have a session that'll be led by one of our experts. Her name is Dolly. She will be teaching about house hacking. So if you're interested in becoming a new buyer, please make sure you join us next week at 12 p.m. for our house hacking session. Again, if you're interested in becoming an expert, we're about to post that link below. And please join our Circle community. It is a platform where Africans such as myself and you can connect, network, dialogue, you name it. It's a place where you can also share more about your business if you have one, or things that you're doing in the community. So let us all connect via Circle. That link should be posted shortly as well. And with that being said, if there's no more questions, we want to thank Nmasi again. Nmasi, is there anything else you want to add?
No, not really. I was just wondering, the resources, is there a way? I don't know if you
Okay,
should
so
read
I
it.
don't know if anybody was able to maybe
We can
screenshot it.
we can email that to the attendees so we get a report. We can pull a report for who attended and we'll send out an email. We have the slides, right?
We
Yes.
do. And also, this is recorded and it'll be uploaded to
It'll
the
be uploaded.
Circle platform. Let's see. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Belinda.
But has put the registration in the chat. So please, please, please join us. And yeah, that is all. I'll leave it up, but you all are free to go. So thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to say one last thing. So I am mostly on LinkedIn. So if you are looking to connect, I just put my LinkedIn there. So yeah, feel free to connect.
Thanks,
Thank you
Marty.
so much. Have a great weekend.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Feel free to just stay on if you need to take links and screenshot any resources, and then you can just drop off. Ah, we have people that are entering the room.
Entering
They missed
or
it.
even. Oh,
As well, they can catch it on Circle. Let's see.
because are you still recording?
I believe I stopped. Oh no, it's still recording.